SummerSlam is about 2 weeks away, and we know what SummerSlam means. It's one of the core 4 pay-per-views: WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. King of the Ring was part of that, but they got rid of it. But SummerSlam is still around. They build it as the greatest party of the summer. What comes to mind when you think of SummerSlam? TK.
Well, for me, SummerSlam, there are 3 to 4 matches that specifically come to mind. The first being Bret Hart, and we saw this a little last week. Bret Hart and British Bulldog in London, SummerSlam '92. The roll-up finish. Bulldog was in no shape to wrestle. Bret Hart carried him through that match. That is Bret Hart's best match, in my opinion. Better than the hour-long Iron Man match with Shawn Michaels. That is a perfect match. Also, I'm going to steal people's thunder here, but SummerSlam 2002, you had Shawn Michaels come back, 4 years, fight my guy Triple H. Triple H carried that man with all his rust on him after 4 years of being away, carried him to a great match. And also on that show, my second or first favorite headlining SummerSlam match, Brock versus Rock. They come out, they start hot with punches. The match is only about 10, 12 minutes. Brock wins, looks like a complete monster. But my number one, and this may be a little bit out of the realm here, favorite SummerSlam match, SummerSlam 2009, Edge and CM Punk, TLC match for the title. CM Punk wins, sends Jeff Hardy packing. CM Punk establishes himself as a main event player until 2011 when he established himself as a main event player. So,
wait, sorry to cut you off. Did you say CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy or Edge? Because I thought you might have said Edge there.
I meant Jeff Hardy. If I said Edge, I meant Jeff Hardy.
Okay.
It's CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy. Sent Jeff Hardy packing, and I love that moment. SummerSlam 2009, you had Rey Mysterio open up against Dolph Ziggler. It's such a good atmosphere. It's an August pay-per-view. You know, it's the end of the summer. It is the party of the summer, and it's a fun pay-per-view. It really is.
The People's Champ. What's your when I say SummerSlam, what comes to mind?
I mean, TK took, SummerSlam 02 from me, but I have to, add on to that. Like, yeah, I felt like Shawn carried the match, but that's just me.
No, that's just TK throwing shade because he likes to throw shade. That's just him.
Yeah.
No,
he's always going to throw shade about
facts.
HBK because I beat him in the debate. Because I beat him in the debate
back
in March.
You didn't beat nothing in the debate.
I beat him in the debate to the point where the studio got shut down.
I destroyed you with the debate.
Listen, I beat him to the point where the studio got shut down. We haven't been back since, so we already know how that happens.
We haven't back in because we're embarrassed of the performance you put on, Carl.
Go ahead, People's Champ. So he can't steal your thunder like he always does. I know that's what he does.
No, SummerSlam 02 was very special because one, it was in my backyard here in New York, and
Long Island, baby, shout it out.
Yeah,
that whole pay per view was flawless from top to bottom. Probably one of the top 5 for me SummerSlams of all time. Another one was right at the Garden 4 years prior, in 1998. The Highway to Hell. The Rock, Triple H. They had probably the best ladder match, one of the best matches that year, which kicked off their legendary rivalry for that title right there for the next year or so. So Undertaker versus Stone Cold that night, it was a very good night. Who can forget 97, the year prior, where Hart versus Soul, Taker versus Bret, it kicked off Shawn Michaels' heel turn. You think about Austin that same night getting his neck hurt from the power driver against Owen Hart, but still found a way to win the Intercontinental Championship. It was one of the most impactful nights. It was in New Jersey, and it basically one of the pivotal moments that kicked off the Attitude Era. So,
Outlaw, what comes to mind when I say SummerSlam?
I think as I always say, I am a young fan. I came in very, very late into the game. The very first SummerSlam I ever watched, I got it at my local library on DVD, was SummerSlam 2009. That probably that for me it resonates for the fact of which it was the first one I ever got my hands on. That actually was the first pay-per-view outside of Mania 25 that I ever watched on DVD. Because I wasn't the kid who could buy the pay-per-views. I was the person who went on WWE.com and saw the photos afterwards and was like, man, I really wished I watched this. So 2009 is my favorite. But one that really I remember very vividly, because I also watched this later on, was 2011 with Punk versus Cena. That was once again we were in the midst of Summer of Punk. We were having a good run, and ensure Kevin Nash squashed it in a heartbeat for us.
Horrible.
He squashed it, but it was still a memorable night. But one that I said I love the most was SummerSlam 2016, I think it was. The one where we had the very first John Cena versus AJ Styles.
Oh, okay.
It was the biggest dream match for any wrestling fan, because you think back to when AJ was in TNA. He was pretty much the John Cena of TNA. He was so over. Everyone loved him. So when you got to see these two guys clash, it was probably like the best match of the night, outside of, I don't know, maybe a tag team match, I guess. But
Okay.
those are the ones
It was
that really
certainly
hit
better than the
home.
main event where Randy Orton just getting busted open and left for dead.
Busted open hard way.
Yeah.
Is that the
I
year
love that.
Randy fought Brock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
And
gas.
speaking of SummerSlam and Brock, I got to mention also 2014, Brock absolutely destroying John Cena. Talk about like a moment, like, oh my God, what is
Is that the
happening?
one where he had like the 11 suplexes, like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cena had almost
Yeah.
no offense, and that was supposed to be Daniel Bryan, but he got hurt. Daniel Bryan was supposed to get buried by that, and props to Cena for not changing the plan and just getting absolutely buried by Brock. Not buried per se, but getting destroyed by Brock Lesnar.
Oh no, he deserved that for Extreme Rules 2012.
Yeah.
Mr. No Days
Yeah,
Off.
right?
You've
Coming back
attended
and
some
winning that match out of
SummerSlam.
nowhere. Sorry, Carl.
It's okay. Mr. No Days Off, you attended a SummerSlam, so what are your thoughts when I say SummerSlam?
I'm living up to my name, Mr. No Days Off. Luckily, I was lucky enough to be in Los Angeles for 2013 and 14, so I got to see that great main event, John Cena, Daniel Bryan, where Daniel Bryan finally wins the title. Triple H turns him around, pedigrees him. Randy Orton cashes in, ruins the moment. Whole crowd chanting, bullshit, bullshit. And it was a crazy moment to be there. Like TK just said, being there in 2014 to watch John Cena get absolutely murdered in the ring. That was a live murder on pay-per-view with 16 flexes. And then I was lucky enough to attend 2 of the 4 SummerSlams here in Brooklyn and New York. Obviously, like Zach just mentioned, AJ versus John Cena, a really great match in that one. 2018, got to see my favorite Ronda win the title. That was a really big one. Finn winning the Universal title. Some pretty cool moments. Then, very forgettable one, but I was in Toronto last year for SummerSlam.
How many SummerSlams have you attended?
Too many. But SummerSlam was always that pay-per-view. It was always one of my favorites because it was right in the middle of the summer. Growing up as a younger kid, I really only watched pay-per-views in the summer. I was able to order them and stay up late in the summer because there's no school. So SummerSlam was always one of my favorites, and probably my favorite SummerSlam moment of all time has got to be 2008, Edge versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell. Match ends with Undertaker choke slamming Edge off the top of the ladder through the ring, does that thing, and the fire shoots up, and it's a perfect ending to a great SummerSlam.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I think when SummerSlam, there's so many memories of it, and I think because it's as everyone on the panel has said, it's like the pay-per-view to end the summer, and you look forward to it. You're like, wow, like it has main events of main events. You know, it's the main event for the summertime. I've never seen the SummerSlam really disappoint that much, regardless if we agree or disagree with the storyline, but they always have some pretty good matches. Randy hit it on the nails. That Highway to Hell SummerSlam was awesome. I was about 12 years old when that one. It was just like, especially like they had, I think, was it Aerosmith who sang the theme song on the Highway to Hell? It was
Oh, no, it's AC/DC.
AC/DC, thank you. Yeah, they sung the theme song to it. I thought Austin was going to drop the championship to Taker that year, but he didn't. I remember the one just going back and watching the Undertaker versus Undertaker when Undertaker returned from the dead and he fought Ted DiBiase's Undertaker. It was like,
Oh yeah, thanks, Carl, for the DVD.
yeah, right, exactly. But you know what? I couldn't tell. Yeah, but yeah, the one that you stole, that you borrowed from me. Yeah, quick note. My brother used to lend my DVDs to Randy. So I wouldn't even know. Like my DVD
we had a
collection
bartering
back in the
system.
day. Yeah, we go way back. So Randy would be watching my DVDs at my expense, and I wouldn't even know about it because my brother would take it to school. He would give it to Randy to watch, and then they would return it. And I didn't find about it until years later that this was going on. But that Undertaker versus Undertaker match, as a kid, I couldn't tell who was the real Undertaker. But now I realized if you go back and you watch it, the real Undertaker's in purple, the fake one is in gray. You go back to, I think TK said Brett's best match was in 92. There's a match to challenge that. The year prior, he faced Mr. Perfect at the Garden. And that was a great match, too, that people don't really talk about. That match for the Intercontinental Championship, Brett versus Perfect.
I think that match was better.
Yeah, that match is really good, too.
That match
So you also had Razor versus Shawn in a ladder match in 95. That's another great match at SummerSlam. SummerSlam has had incredible moments. And I think this year is different because we're in the social distance era. But I guess we can say they're doing the best that they can to build a good card. Would you say?